What is up, everybody? I'm Clint Collins here with my boy Seth. No,
How we doing out there, everybody?
we today jumping into Pac-12 preview. College football's so close, dude. Next weekend, we've got 3 previews for you, all coming out in the next 10 days. You will have your hands on the last one, which will be the Big Ten. You'll have your hands on that by next Thursday. So, got a bunch of stuff coming up for you, a bunch of information. And we also are about to have to give on our chops, do a little more work, because we're about to have to come to you weekly on the schedule, which we're stoked about. We're excited about. We're excited to have you this whole time to force feed our biased information down your throat.
Biased? Come on, man. We're unbiased sometimes.
Sometimes.
Right. Sometimes unbiased.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Pac-12. When you first think about the Pac-12 this year, what comes to your head?
Parody.
Yeah.
Top to bottom good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost dumbfounding to me that nobody is talking about the Pac-12. The Pac-12 gets. I've never been the sucker that believed that, hey, we're on the West Coast, East Coast bias, all that stuff. I just never, and I think it's because I grew up in Big Ten country and it was always Big Ten, Pac-12, or Pac-10 at the time, Rose Bowl, this and that. So I always followed the Pac-12 and was like really into it. And I never really saw that biased thought process because I knew how good they were all the time. But now that I'm looking at them and I've done my research and I've really, really dug into it for this season, people are sleeping on the Pac-12.
They really
They're
are.
loaded.
Like, I guess, when we're talking about the Pac-12 this year, we kind of have to come in with everybody's current choice to win the conference, USC.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like confounds me why everybody is just sold on them winning the conference right now. I mean, you're looking at a team that was 9-4 last year. It's not a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
They're returning more than half their starters on both sides of the ball.
Right.
You've got the most fratastic party boy coach running the program.
Can I get a Jaeger bomb?
I did not inhale. Wait, I didn't. Like, what? He said, wait, hold on, time out, sidebar. This dude said today, he comes out and is like, and when I say he said today, this is the news as of August 26th. He comes out and he says that he mixed meds and booze and that he should have known better than that.
And you're the leader of 85 scholarship football players.
Like,
I mean, look.
was he at the bar and his buddy was like, hey, dude, I got some Xanax. He's like, ooh, hook it up. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, meds and booze? Like, really?
Look, I will say this, though. Those Pac-12 teams, Pac-12 schools, they're a little bit more liberal than the East Coast Southern schools that we come from. But, guys make mistakes. They do things they shouldn't have done.
Wait, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7 of their 12 schools you can buy marijuana legally in the state of. I think
something like that.
It's insane. I mean,
it's a large amount, but look, they have a little fun out there. You got a few drinks, but let's talk about some football, man. Come on, I know that.
Everybody's talking about that right now. So here's let's talk about USC. First of all, what are your thoughts on the Trojans this year?
Their talent's pretty much undeniable. They're really good. I think that you're getting a lot of people buying into them because they're bought into Max Whittick. Not Max Whittick, Cody Kessler. I'm sorry, not Max Whittick. I apologize. He was their guy that left because of Cody Kessler. Anyway, but they're buying into Cody Kessler. They're buying into him as their quarterback. Think he's the best quarterback in the league. I think he's pretty good. I think he's, like, what was Barkley? What was his first name?
Matt Barkley.
I think he's Matt Barkley, same type of player. I don't think he's going to be as good. I don't think he's going to be very good in the NFL. I think he's a little bit overrated on his NFL prospects. But, they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of playmakers. They recruit good. And it's their coach's second year.
Right.
It's his second year of his system and putting his stuff in place. And, I think they're going to be good. I'm not sold on them as the best team in the pack, though. I've got some other ideas on that, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
I do, too. I look at you, and you just brought up Cody Kessler. Do you think that USC recruits their quarterbacks based on names that sound like cliched quarterback names? Like, you got Matt Leinart, Cody Kessler, Matt Barkley. Like, they just sound so perfect. It drives me insane. It sounds like a cast name.
Max Brown,
Exactly.
who's going to be their quarterback after he's got.
But, okay, ridiculous. I know. All right, so here's the thing about USC, and this is what's interesting. We're going to know exactly who they are by the time the 7th week rolls around.
Oh, absolutely.
They will have played at ASU, at Notre Dame, and they have Utah at home before the 8th game of the season.
Oh, they've got, like I said, that's everybody in that league, though. I mean, you think their schedule's bad. Look at Cal's schedule. I don't even want to talk about it. We'll get into that because I like Cal a little bit more than maybe the next guy does. But they're just, I mean, you can't say the Pac-12 plays a soft schedule.
No.
They go out and they play some teams.
They do.
You know, their non-conference stuff is pretty amazing. I mean, we can just highlight something. I mean, Oregon's got to go to Michigan State. SC's got at Notre Dame. SC also has to go to they got to go to Oregon in a cross-conference game. They got to go to Oregon and play. I mean,
hey, to start the season, Michigan is at Utah.
Right, Michigan's at Utah. I mean, they play some tough teams. I mean, you look at their non-conference; they don't play. You know,
they really don't. And
they
then
don't play cupcakes.
You've got the whole like ring around the. We get to see USC, Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, Oregon, all kind of take turns at each other for the most part, which is going to be fascinating because we're going to get one of those matchups almost every week.
Right.
So when you have a conference that has 7 legit contenders,
right. And let's not forget this. At Jerry World, Arizona State's going to play A&M the first game of the year.
That's right.
That game could make or break either one of those teams.
I agree.
Because they're both good enough to win their divisions and win their leagues and be in the, playoff mix. You lose that first game, though. I mean, but we found out with Ohio State last year.
That's true.
Better lose early.
I really think that, and I mean, we talked about this on the SEC podcast, but I really think that A&M's the type of team that could lose 1 or 2 games and the wheels just come off the bus, because I think that we've seen that happen to them before.
Well, I agree. I think they could, but...
With Arizona State, though, if they do win that game, I'm looking at Arizona State in the way that their schedule sets up. And that's, they have USC at home, they have UCLA at home, they have Arizona at home. That's what I'm looking at right here.
Serious?
Yeah.
I thought they had Arizona on the road, but I guess I'm wrong. Go ahead.
They've got and they also have, holy cow, they've also got Oregon at Arizona State on October 29th.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough. That game's going to be equal. Nobody's really talking about that game. That game's going to be as equally interesting, in my opinion, as
almost any game of the season.
Any game of the season. I think
the way that the schedule sets up, though, Seth, for me, I think the Sun Devils should be the favorites in the South right now.
They should be the favorites, but they're not going to win it.
You don't think so?
No. We're going to keep going on that one.
Okay, moving on along then. We've got, but the thing I will say about Arizona State, you've got 20 wins the last 2 years under Todd Graham. You've got 7 returning starters on defense. 3 of their final 5 games at home, like I said, most of their big games are at home. Mm-hmm. But when you look at that offensive line and you look at the wide receiving core, you see where all their graduates went. None of them are left.
True.
So they're going to have mostly a brand new offensive line outside of the center. Not to mention the fact that you're looking at a bunch of receivers who no one knows is really going to be their big playmaker. Mm-hmm. I guess that right there is scary enough. But,
right.
I mean, we'll see. That's exciting. I mean, kind of rolling out down through the rest of the South. I mean, who do you like down there? Arizona. Rich Rod.
I love every bit of Arizona. Look, people forget how good of a coach Rich Rod is. West Virginia was in the toilet. He brought them back to a top 10, 5 to 10 team every single year in West Virginia.
He got them into the Big 12.
All right. Seriously, at West Virginia. He gets hired at Michigan, which is a lose-lose proposition for him because, A, he's got to play Tressel when Tressel's in his prime. Tressel would still be one of the 5 best coaches in college football, but, obviously this or that or whatever. But he's got to coach against Tressel while trying to completely redo the roster to play spread football in the Big Ten, which you just can't do. And I'm not talking about Urban Meyer spread. I'm talking about, Mike Leach spread.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the differences between different spread offenses before. And they just didn't give him the time. I mean, they had gotten so bad at Michigan, and then you're trying to come in and retool the roster. it wasn't a 3-year fix. It wasn't a 4-year fix. That was a 5-6 year fix. I believe they'd have let him stay. You'd have seen that grow, and that was great. He left Arizona, did the smartest thing in the world to hire that guy.
Oh yeah, I mean the thing about what I felt like was really really underappreciated, while simultaneously overappreciated during Rich Rod's time at Michigan, was what he was able to do with the worst starting quarterback. As far as a skill level, throwing the ball,
Right.
managing a game, maybe in major college football. But I mean, he made Shoelace look like he was a Heisman candidate. He was on the last cover of, that stupid NCAA game.
Right.
Like he found a way to make him look great.
To make sure this look great. And I'm with you there. And I just think that, and the other part of it is, when you look at Arizona's roster, the only place that I'm like, is offensive line. They lost a couple guys, lost some starters. I think they only got 2 guys back on their offensive line, but they got the best defensive player in the Pac-12, and Scooby Wright.
Okay.
They got a new Solomon back at quarterback for his sophomore year, and look at his numbers last year. People just don't realize how good he was.
Yeah.
They have 4 guys that are going to be NFL wide receivers.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I love watching them play. I think people are sleeping on them. I just really do. And I got something else for you. They have the easiest schedule in the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah. So you like that for them too?
Yeah, I mean, and it sets up beautiful for them. I think that they're legit. That's what I'm going with.
What do you think about Utah this year?
Interesting.
16 returning starters.
16 returning starters.
On offense, they've got Kalen Clayback, who was their main player last year. Also cost them a game in the most Deshaun Jackson way possible.
Correct.
But, you got him back. You've got your big tight end. What's his name? Tonga out there at tight end. He's a future NFL player. On defense, you're returning arguably, maybe besides USC, the best secondary in the conference.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think this is the deal with Utah. I think Utah is forever now being in the Pac-12, minus a 1 year here or a 1 year there. I think they're a forever 9-4, 8-5, 10-3 type team.
Yeah.
I think that's what their talent gets them. This is the great thing about it, though. They're going to beat somebody that
they're not supposed
they're going to play spoiler to some team's dream in that league. Because they're going to beat a good team.
I agree with that, and I look at their I look at their schedule, and like we talked about, they start out with Michigan, and it's a good time to get Michigan probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's at home also. After that they got Utah State, Fresno State, but you start getting into the thick of that schedule, and this is their run. After Fresno State, you've got at Oregon, home against Cal, home against Arizona State, at USC. You've got basically a bye week against Oregon State. And then you finish out with Washington, Zona, UCLA.
Well, they're going to lose 3. This is my opinion. They're going to win one of the 4-game stretch. They're going to beat either, I forget what it was.
Cal,
USC. They're going to beat one of those teams, and it's going to ruin somebody's day.
Yeah.
But I also think they lose 3 out of those 4 games. And just when I look at the talent level on each team, even if you have 16 guys back, those 16 guys aren't talented enough to win those games. That's just my opinion.
I think that we have. See, in the rest in the South, I guess we can talk about UCLA.
I think they're the most overrated team in the South.
I was gonna say,
you're coming off. Look, Brett Hundley, like him or not, he was good.
He won them games.
A lot of games. Won a lot of games for him. Put up a lot of numbers. Maybe lost him a couple games, but he won them a lot more than he lost them. You're going to try and start a true freshman quarterback against those level of teams. I mean, look, I've heard Santi Woolard's going to start, who's no slouch himself, but you're going to throw a guy out there who's first year playing quarterback in the Pac-12. Probably going to be Josh Rosen at the end of the day.
I think it will be.
So you're going to run a true freshman quarterback out there against Arizona State, Arizona, USC, Utah. I mean, there's no cupcake really on that side. I mean, the only cupcake is Colorado, and you think you're going to swing I just don't like it. I think it sets them up. I think they finish 4th at best.
I'm kind of with you. And, what's interesting, and I was...
Look, I love Miles Jack. He's a beast. But your middle linebacker / running back can't carry your squad.
Well, let me ask you if this is possible, because when I look at their depth chart, the thing that comes to my head is it possible to have 5 straight top 20 recruiting classes and still have no depth?
I don't think they're lacking depth. I think they're lacking experience in that. I mean, look, I just believe that you don't roll out. I don't know that they've recruited as good as you think they have. I think that their best 2 classes have been the last 2 years, which makes them redshirt freshmen, sophomores, or true freshmen. And I think those 3 years, you're still not ready to compete.
Yep.
Now, 2 years from now,
we'll see.
We'll see.
So, okay, coming out of the South then, you're
going with Arizona.
Going with Arizona. Rich Rod.
Love Rich Rod. That's my. You could call it my sleeper pick, or I just don't understand why it's a sleeper. I don't understand why everybody's so down on them. They've got big time players in the skill spots. They're a little light in the offensive line, but in Rich Rod's offense, your offensive line's not. He rolls them out. He spreads them out. It's quick throws. It's here. It's here. It's not sitting in the pocket for 47 guys trying to get vertical. I just like them. That's my team.
All right, I'm rolling with. I still, I know what you're saying. I'm still gonna go ahead and go with the Sun Devils. I'm
okay, and look, and you could be very right. I think it comes down to that game. That game is gonna be. That's gonna be a must.
Does that game
TV,
have a name?
I don't know, but it's must see TV this year.
What? I'm really curious if that game has a name or not. Okay, so we got that. For so long now, I guess with the exception of the Harbaugh couple years there with Gerhardt and then Andrew Luck, the North has been Oregon's to lose. Is it still?
Yeah, I'd say this year. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some team. I think Stanford's lost a lot of the Harbaugh guys, and they haven't recruited as well. I mean, they're recruiting better, and they're going to be a good team and have hard-nosed, smart players. They don't have Harbaugh players anymore, so I think there's been some attrition there naturally.
By the way, Territorial Cup. That's Arizona State. The Territorial Cup's what they play. Territorial Cup.
Nice.
Remember that.
So you're in yellow and maroon, and I'm all
red and blue.
All red, white, and blue on that day.
You can wear that same sweatshirt that Sandra Bullock rolled around in his feet.
Yes, I can. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's Oregon's to lose this year. Oregon lost a lot, but Oregon just reloads.
Well, let's talk about this quarterback situation, though, Seth, because Oregon's offense is what makes Oregon win football games. Yeah. So you've got a quarterback situation now where you have a returning junior, like a redshirt junior now. Uh-huh. Like, he's been in the system. This is his 4th year in the system. And they went out and found an FCS quarterback to come in and challenge him.
You ever watch that kid play on TV?
Actually, I have not. So you're going to have to fill me in. Give us the scouting report.
That kid's, wow, he looks like Russell Wilson, effectively. I mean, that's what he's built like. I mean, he's 5'11", he's a brick, he's got a great arm, he's fast, makes good decisions. He's got video game numbers at the FCS level.
Really?
Video game numbers. I mean, like 5,000 yards passing, 1,500 yards rushing, 50 touchdowns. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm probably overdoing it a little bit, but he's got literally video game numbers. I don't care if you're playing in, what'd you say earlier, 6-man football?
Yeah.
His numbers are impressive. So, I think that he steps into that offense. If he can learn that, and here's the other thing about it. That offense isn't highly complicated.
No.
It's not. It's not a complicated offense. It's not 400 pass protections and a route tree you got to learn to teach your wide receivers how to run. I mean, it's really fake throw.
Handoff.
And because they spread it out, their guys are running wide open. And I think it's an easy offense to learn. I think he's a really talented guy, and I don't think he has to, the problem is I think Lockheed could probably run the offense for him and be successful.
He's not,
but he's not going to win you a title.
Yeah,
he's not going to take you to where you want to go. They're going to roll Adams out there because his skill set is that good that he could be a difference in that happening.
Let me ask you a question about Oregon, and I know that this people always tend to sound or be maybe overreactionary, after a big loss or anything else. Because I still consider their loss to Ohio State in the championship game last year a big loss because they got punked and like.
You could say that about almost anybody that played Ohio State at the end of the year.
I agree with you, but I'm just saying that like what we saw last year was, you had Marcus Mariota, who was a 214th year junior. How did he come out early? He was at Oregon. Like, I'm pretty sure that he was playing in Oregon before, like, Nike really started making jerseys for them. Mariota was in college for 100 years, dude. Like, but, so you had the Mariota, you had Oregon's boy, like, Captain Oregon, Mr. Oregon, like, roll through, and they still weren't able to get over that hump. Can Oregon ever reach the mountaintop?
I don't know. It's hard to say no. They've been a perennial power for years.
They have, but they've never been able to punch through that ceiling.
But here's the thing I have to say about that. How many teams won titles in the last 10 years?
I understand what you're saying.
There's not a lot of them. I think they're the premier program as of right now in the Pac-12. USC will always be the most hyped program in the Pac-12 because they carry the USC tradition. So whether they're terrible or not, it's USC. And they'll always get the best players in Southern California. But they're the premier program in a really good conference. So I don't think you can knock that. Winning championships is a lot of luck. Look, I'm an Ohio State homer till the day that I die, but it took, if anybody ever saw that coming last year, let's be real. We're talking right now, and, I was watching earlier, Ohio State played Penn State last year, and they won 17-14. Penn State wasn't. I think Penn State finished 7-6 or something. Yeah. It's not a. You got to get some luck. You got to get going at the right time. I think some point Oregon will get it done.
Speaking of teams that have had luck before, I'm rolling with my North prediction here, champion, and that's Stanford.
Really?
Because here's what I'm telling you: if David Shaw can find a good rotation on their defensive line. Their offense is basically returning intact. Okay. You've got a pro back seven in that defense. All their linebackers and defensive backs will play on Sunday.
I don't know about all of them, but some of them.
I'm not saying they'll be starters. I'm saying that all of them will take it down on a Sunday.
Okay, well, fair enough.
And you've got a team with that you should finally see them be able to put up some points. The new offense, I think that, it isn't completely new, but they definitely have, progressed their pro style further to allow more scoring. We saw it in the USC game last year. I think that this is a team that's on the brink, and I think this is a team that's about to push over the top and overtake Oregon this year.
This is my thing, though. Here's what I'm going with. All right? If Barry Sanders Jr. or Little Barry doesn't start at tailback for Stanford, I'm boycotting their whole team. Look, man, that's my idol. That was the best player in the world to watch when I was a kid, And his son, I watched his highlight tapes. He was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, this kid's going to be a beast. And then he's gone to Oregon, and you don't even know that he plays there anymore, So if he doesn't start at tailback just because I want to see the kid play in a college football game and get 20 carries in a game, I'm not doing it. I refuse.
All right,
that's my religion.
I like them. And I look at the North, and if there is any holes in the pack, it's in the North. You've got those two teams that I think are going to be a really tough out for both. But you've got Colorado up there, who, like you said, sometimes I forget they were even in the Big 12, to be honest with you, for a while. They've kind of just become an afterthought. And I'm not saying that at one point they weren't an amazing football program. The pass from Cordell Stewart to,
Talking about Colorado? Colorado's in the South.
Colorado's in the South. Oh, my bad.
That's why I was like, hold on a second. You threw me off, and then you went on Cordell Stewart, which is a great story. Let's go with that. Look, they beat Michigan. I was all about it. I'm okay with that. But
hold on, let me run that. Who was the receiver that he hit in the end zone?
Dude, that played in the end. Got drafted in the first. That catch got that guy first round pick in the NFL. Charles Johnson was his last name. God, I can't remember his name.
Oh my!
It's gonna kill me. You're gonna kill me with that, dude, all night long. I'm gonna be researching.
It was him and Randy Moss. They were kind of the big deals for a little while, at the same time, because they were about the same age. It was I
don't know. We'll have to get back. We're digressing here on Colorado football, which I didn't even know they played football anymore. But
I didn't even know what division they were in.
And you've been studying this for like 3 weeks. That's bad.
That's really bad.
That's really bad.
Dude,
I gotta go
to be honest with you, like I apologize to if there are Colorado fans, and I don't know if you happen to hear this somehow, like I really, really am sorry to dog on your program like this, because not too long ago we were there. Baylor was there. Like
Right.
I know what it's like.
Just pick it up. You guys will get some players someday.
Yeah. So okay.
At the end of the day, we know what's legal in Colorado. There's going to be some college kids that want to go to school there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the deal though with the North. This is what I'm seeing. All right. Washington, second year with Chris Peterson. I'm not a big Chris Peterson guy. Chris Peterson should have never left Boise State. He left the best job in the world, because every year that they were 11-1 against terrible competition, 10-2, whatever it was, or going to BCS games, he was always, you're the greatest coach ever because you took them to that point. The bigger issue for me was, why are you going to go to a Washington school that's been terrible forever? Even Sarkisian couldn't get a winner at Washington. Yeah. Washington hasn't been good since Don Nehlen was the coach. That's how bad they are.
But you said you don't hate them this year.
I don't hate them, but I don't like them. They're not, they're not great. I mean, Washington. The team that I think is interesting is California. I think Cal is the most interesting team. I think they have the best quarterback in the Pac-12. Jared Goff is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I'm telling you now. That dude is a monster.
Wow.
I mean, do you want me to give you his stats last year?
Just put him out there.
I mean, the kid threw for, just in his career. So, let's put it like this. He's a true junior. He's started since he was a freshman. Okay. He has now, let me pull this up here because I just had it in front of me, and it's pretty, I had to double take because I didn't believe it was true. He's thrown for 7,481 yards and 53 touchdowns as a true freshman and a true sophomore, and nobody talks about it because Cal's been terrible. But last year they weren't terrible.
No.
Sonny Dykes knows how to put points on the board, boys and girls.
He does.
The only thing, they also have a running back that ran for 1,100 yards last year. The only thing that concerns me is, A, can they tackle anybody? Can they stop somebody? They allowed 42 touchdown passes last year. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And they have the toughest schedule in the Pac-12 by far. Not even close. Their schedule is, it's, we don't even go over it. It's just bad, but
yeah,
he's the best player. So I'm going to go with, that's who I like.
I'll tell you, looking at him,
I don't think they're going to win, but I think they're going to I think it's going to be them and Oregon. I think that game against Oregon is
they
going to
have
the division.
A great set of wide receivers to go with them. And the thing that's most interesting about Goff, because California did give us a few great games last year.
Yeah.
It was it California and Washington State last year? Was
Yes.
that the 50-60?
That was like the 50-something whatever game.
Which, by the way, I'm so sorry, Pac-12. We actually had agreed to temper ourselves before we started this podcast because we are admittedly Pac-12 fans.
Yeah, we like Pac-12 a lot.
And the reason is because what time the games come on.
Correct. There's nothing better than an 11 o'clock at night
Saturday game.
Saturday Pac-12 game.
Yes.
After I've had a few 200-300 cocktails throughout the day watching games already.
Tailgate, tons of food.
Right, and then but here's the greatest thing about the Pac-12. I can't remember, for the life of me, I can't remember the game last year. But this sums up the Pac-12 for you. I turned on a Pac-12 game. It was the primetime Pac-12 game of the week. Whoever was playing whoever, and I had a few too many at the time, went out to a 28-0 lead in the first quarter. I mean, it's 28-0. They were smashing this team. And I was like, oh, man, this is terrible. I was like, all right. I turned it off. I woke up the next morning. The team that was down 28-0
came back and
won the game.
Yeah.
41-38.
On a Hail Mary.
On a Hail Mary.
Yes.
And I can't remember who it was that
it
played.
Was Utah. I think Utah was in that game.
I think it was Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Somebody.
And
I don't know who it was, but it was the best. But it was like, That's what you get in Pac-12 games. It's never over. The game is never over.
I'm looking it up right now for you because that's going to drive me insane.
It does.
It was Arizona and Cal.
Arizona Cal. There you go.
Yes, it was.
Yes. And I think it was...
And they're also last year, because you're talking about something that happened, that's September 21st is when that game was. And on October 4th, ASU stuns USC on a Hail Mary.
Right, that's
it's the next leg game.
And it's just like that every week. The primetime game in the PAC is just great football. Look, if you like defense, don't turn it on.
No,
but
don't.
If you like watching offense and just really good athletes run around, Pac-12 football is great.
It's fantastic. And that's what makes me so excited about it. It's because gauging the Pac-12 for me is a lot like watching the Big 12 circa 06 to 09-ish era, that time period, McCoy, Bradford, all them, because I never knew how good these teams were because they didn't play the other guys.
Right.
But man, watching them play each other made me believe I was watching the best football out there.
I gotcha.
And in the PAC, that's what you see. But like we said, we got these late games. This Jared Goff kid. By the way, don't you love our tangents? That Jared Goff kid. One thing, when you brought him up the other day, and I watched some of him. I didn't study his numbers, but I did watch a highlight reel of his. And heck, I saw a bunch of Cal games last year.
Right.
Just like I'd never put name to memory.
Right.
He makes reads, and he makes them fast.
Yeah, he's legit.
He's
legit.
He will have 3 or 4 checkdowns.
He might be the best quarterback
in college football.
Well, I don't know. Look, I don't know that he's the best. He might be the best pro prospect. Between him and Hackenberg, those two, from Penn State, those two might be the best pro quarterback prospects but he's the best one that you don't talk about. He's the best one that, look, if we polled 50 people right now that were going into a college football stadium and we asked them who Jared Goff was, I guarantee you wouldn't get more than 50% that would know who he was. Because nobody just knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's highly talented. He's good. He played on a really bad Cal team as a true freshman. He played on a Cal team that improved a lot last year under Sonny Dykes. I think that look, I like them a lot. I just don't think their schedule, shapes up very well for them at all. But, hey, they're good. I think Oregon wins the league. I think Cal's second as a surprise.
Yes.
My bold prediction of the year in the total, all of the Pac-12. You could say me picking Arizona was a bold prediction, but here's my bold prediction of the year. Washington State won't win a game in the Pac-12 this year.
I can see that. Is Leach on his last?
I think Leach is on his last. But here's the thing. It's Washington State. Who are you going to hire that's going to make your program interesting more than Mike Leach does?
I just pulled up, just for the fun of it, the Cal-Washington State game that we talked about, which was another huge Saturday game. Late game. I love those late games. That was a 10:30 start, by the way. And that game, that final was 60-59. And offense, you were talking about offense but no defense. Total yards, Washington State had 812 in that game. And our boy that we're sitting here, Goff, we're talking about right now, he threw for 527 himself. That's the kind of stuff that you see. And, you don't think Washington State will win a game. And I don't disagree with you. And what kills me and, what I sit there and think about, because, like we said in our SEC preview, Mike Leach wins our Mike Leach Award for
Mike Leach wins the Mike Leach Award.
And so I cannot wait to watch. I always like it when Washington State ends up playing slightly earlier game, so that way when I'm at halftime of the late Pac-12 game, I can flip over to ESPNU and catch a Mike Leach press conference.
Yes, because that's going to be the best. That's the best comedy of the year right there.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Leach press conference is a comedy.
It is.
You're either going to get the greatest sound bites in the world, or you're going to get Bill Belichick one-word answers.
Exactly.
Leach is so, but
he's like the love child of Marshawn Lynch and Bobby Knight.
Right.
He's phenomenal. I love this. I love him, but like you said, it's just down. And then when I sit there and I think about it, I think about Mike Leach's roots were here in Texas. He shouldn't have left the state or shouldn't have gone too far.
He got railroaded.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about what happened at Tech, because Tech did the shadiest thing ever.
He got railroaded at Tech.
It made me.
I never knew Craig James had that kind of power in the world, but hey, What are you gonna say?
Craig James is responsible for taking down 2 former top 10 football programs now. Do you know how many other people can say that?
Not many.
Like, I mean,
there's a few, but not many. But here's the deal. I mean, look, I love
Mike Sherman,
Mike,
maybe?
Mike Sherman, maybe. Mike Leach is, you know, he's good for college football. I don't care what anyone says. You know, he's got an opinion. He plays a fun style of football. Washington State will never be relevant in football.
No, they won't.
I mean, look,
and he needs to go somewhere that can.
You had Drew Bledsoe and you had Ryan Leaf.
Yep.
And those 2 guys kept you relevant for whatever that period. You went to a couple Rose Bowls with those 2 guys. You're never getting Drew Bledsoe or Ryan Leaf at those schools again. Because whether you like Ryan Leaf in the NFL or not, when the guy was in college,
he was a baller.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't, you know, but he's like any, you know, but that's a well-documented situation, but that's something different. But I just don't know what's going to go on there. But here we go. Let's get to it. Let's get to the fun stuff here.
Okay.
Offensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12.
Offensive Player of the Year in the Big. I think we've already named him. Like, just like we were talking about there, you got Jared Goff, who just like, if he is going to be the best quarterback in the Pac-12, which is going to be an offensive league,
right?
He has got to be at the top of the list. Like, he's got to be a finalist for me, just like off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm going with him to win it. My only concern is, can his team win enough? Can they
win enough games?
Can they win enough games? And I'm picking him second because I think he's good enough to get him over that hump. But I'm going Goff, Offensive Player of the Year. I'm gonna go defense. I'm gonna go with
Shaq.
Well, you could go with Scooby Wright. That's the you know, I think he's the best player, but I'm going to go with a little bit of surprise here because the only chance UCLA has is if Miles Jack plays. I think he might be the most freaky athlete in the fact that he could be the best running back in the Pac-12 or he can be the best linebacker in the Pac-12. So I'm going with him to be Defensive Player of the Year.
I actually kind of like that too. You know, with the fun stuff here, like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, first, like, you know, moving on next award, I've got David Shaw as my coach of the year this year, and Rich Rod would be my second one, but because if you're right about and I like Arizona for finishing second or third in the South also, which I think will still give them a top 15 finish, which I think will still maybe help him win coach of the year.
Yeah.
But if Shaw can overtake Oregon this year, after they played in the title game, like, I think you have to give it to him.
Like I said, I refuse to vote for Stanford for anything until Barry Sanders starts a game. Stanford, but I think you have a bit more love for Stanford than I do. I think they're down, but you know, I think they got a lot of players, but I think they're down this year. Coach of the year, I'm going to go with my man. I mean, I picked him to win the league. I got to pick him to be coach of the year, right? So I'm going with Rich Rod. I'm going with surprise will be Sonny Dykes.
Sonny Dykes. I think my maybe the breakout to where he really becomes a name defensively this year in the Pac would be Cravens.
Oh, Sawar Cravens.
Yeah,
Sawar Cravens. Yeah, he's good. I have a question for you. What's Adoree Jackson gonna play?
Anything he wants to.
Right, correct. But if he plays defense,
that's where I think he'll be.
And plays corner. If he starts at corner, well, man, I don't know about that. That dude's pretty good at wide receiver.
No, I get it, but like I've also heard that like what I heard the craziest thing about him. I read something on him was that they said that he is just as capable of playing strong safety as he is corner, and that's a weird mix, man.
Yeah, like, I don't know about that one. Maybe.
They said that he's strong enough to hold that position down. Like,
yeah, but being strong enough and
can hit like that. Like,
that's
your impact, dude.
Yeah,
that's your.
I'd have to see that one for myself. I mean, look, I don't claim to be the smartest football guy in the world, but I'd have to see that for myself. But that's one. I'm gonna go with surprise kind of, defensive guy for me. Who we think? I'm going to go with Eddie Vanderdoes from UCLA, the defensive tackle. He started there for 2 years. He was a big-time recruit, committed to USC, then backed out of that commitment, signed with Notre Dame, then backed out of that, and ended up going to UCLA.
Okay.
And he's been a starter there for 2 years. I like him. I think he's my surprise guy if you want to have a surprise guy.
I'll go with, if I'm going to have a surprise guy, I'll go with Stephen McClure,
Yeah,
California. I think that he'll turn some heads. I think he's a top first 3-round pick also.
Yeah, I think he's good.
He's a Sunday guy.
I don't disagree with that. Other than that, it's very funny. All these casts we've been doing with all the conferences, this has been the easiest one to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so much easier because I have no SEC. You get
there's just all the venom that
there's
comes
the
out of my
venom
mouth.
that comes out of that.
I feel like
the ACC, the boredom that goes along with that. But now we're talking about I love Pac-12 football. I just can't knock it at all.
It's the time period. It's the time that it comes on. Okay, but we're sitting here. We're talking Pac-12. Everything else. What's your bold prediction though?
My bold prediction for the Pac-12. Well, I already said Washington State's not going to win a game.
That's what you're sticking with though.
I get if that might not be that bold. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not really putting myself out there. Bold prediction. Oregon loses 3 games in the Pac-12.
I like that one, and I am going to add to it and say that USC ends the season with 4 losses.
Okay.
They go from.
I think Oregon and Oregon could. I'm just going with Oregon's going to lose 3 Pac-12 games. They might have more losses than that, but I'm going they're going to lose 3.
I like Oregon losing that, and I'm telling you that USC will once again fail to meet expectations.
That could be. That's a bold. I'm not. I don't know that.
How can you expect
to the general public that's bold?
To you, it's not.
To me, it's not. Because I'm not a big fan.
How can you expect your kids to remember defensive assignments when you yourself cannot remember not to drink alcohol with medication?
While taking Xanax. That's awesome.
I love it though, and it just starts out great, and I'm looking at this, and like I said, the very first week of the season, it starts out. We got Michigan and Utah, and then 2 weeks after that, we're gonna see USC Arizona, we're gonna see Stanford USC, UCLA Arizona, Oregon at ASU, and this is all in the first several weeks of the season.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
That's the one thing that I'm fearful of is that those teams are gonna beat each other up to the point where they're going to play themselves out of the playoff, and then people just forget about them and don't realize how good they are.
You know what? I'm cool with that though, because I myself don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to watch the fights happen.
Because they're good fights. I agree. Those are prize fights every week.
Just because USC, if they were to drop 3 games early, let's say, and they're not ranked in the top 25,
and then they go to Notre Dame and play, and Notre Dame's undefeated, and they beat them, that would be great.
I'm just saying that USC at Oregon. I don't care if USC and Oregon both have 4 losses at that point.
Right.
That game's gonna be great.
That's one of those things where anytime watching a Pac-12 game, unless, and I do put a caveat in here, Colorado is playing in the game, or Oregon State is playing in the game.
I really
outside of those 2 teams, okay, leaving those 2 teams out of the equation, there is not a game that goes on in the Pac-12 that I wouldn't want to watch. That's not going to be entertaining. Any game Washington State plays in will be entertaining. They're going to get crushed, but they're going to lose 60-40.
Yeah.
So it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
So look, I'm all about the Pac-12 this year. I'm big time. I'm on the Pac-12 bandwagon.
I'm there, and you know what though? It's just like like we said, it's the timing though that also helps what the time it is. To any of our listeners who currently are in college or freshly removed from college, there does come a point where even on Saturday nights, your turned up stops happening around 9. You're ready to be back at the house.
Right.
And that's what's great about Saturday night games is because, like you said, maybe you were on the grill all day. Maybe you had 14 hamburgers.
Right.
Whatever it may be. When you're ready to veg and everything else, there's that high-profiled offenses right there for you. And it's a de facto conference for me. It's just a byproduct of me being awake at night turned me into a Pac-12 fan.
Right.
It's a lot like how I became a Warriors fan, to be honest with you.
There's no, what's great about it for me is, you said it correctly, you have no dog in the fight. It's not a Big Ten situation, so I have no dog in the Big Ten. It's not the SEC where the comes out. Big 12, as hard as it is for me to say this, because of the show and because of you, I got to fight. I kind of got a dog in the fight now. I got to, I got a back bailer in that situation. You know what I mean? I'm always going to be objective with you on it, but closetly, I want Baylor to do well because, you support them and it's good for our show. But
hey, just like I've said, this show's dream currently to all of our listeners from both sides of it, our show's dream currently is for all of us to have a big party in January. You know?
Correct. There's you know, we might not have another show after that game,
but man,
for like
the pre-party is
going to
be great.
The pre-party will be great. Yeah, so it's just non-biased, and it's actually just watching football for the love of watching the football game. You know, really, and that's how it feels. And
we're, you know, what's great is, you know, here we are, we're actually 8 days away from the start of college football because that first Thursday.
Yeah.
So the way that Seth and I are cranking out these podcasts for you, it's going to be on a bit of a tight schedule, but we are going to give you the Big 12 and the Big 10 next week, and that's before Thursday night.
Yep.
Seth and I will also be at the SMU Baylor game next Friday.
Yep. So we'll probably do we might do a small show on that game, just a quick little
something.
15, 30 minute maybe little snapshot on it, give all the Baylor fans a little something to hear about on the first game.
But we'll be out there. We'll be out there hanging out. Probably be on the boulevard before the game. And then
is that even a question?
I mean, well, yeah, I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
we'll be out there. We'll be so I mean, we'd love to like run into some of you, get some conversations in. I know that Ashley and Brian and Colt and the rest of the mods from the site are going to be there as well. So we hope that everybody makes it out because if the Baylor fans don't show up in force, there's just not going to be anybody at the stadium.
Right, correct. I can promise you this, though. If anybody doesn't know who I am, they want to know who I am, I will be the only guy at a Baylor SMU game with a big red Ohio State t-shirt. You will know it's me because that is what I will have on.
You know, that game, what I'm looking for, I work right over by SMU. In closing here, I'll give you this. I work right over by SMU. And I was driving by the field the other morning. And there's a stoplight right beside the field to where, if you have never been over to the SMU stadium before, it's kind of dug into the ground a little. Like you can look down into it.
Yeah, correct. It's actually a decently cool stadium for being in the middle of a city.
Cool. Yeah, it is cool looking.
It's in the middle of a major city. It's well groomed. It's nice. It's not it's not trash by any stretch. The product they put on that field to play is trash.
Well,
but
I was gonna say, I mean, SMU campus looks like Hogwarts. It's awesome, but like if you look down, except for floating candles, I haven't seen that. Right. But like, if I looked down into this bowl, and I thought to myself, and I'm not trying to be funny to everybody here. I'm gonna tell you my honest thought is I go, I wonder why they're letting a high school team practice out there.
Oh wow!
And then because they only had their practice jerseys on, and like the store that I run, some of the players come in, and I guess they'd come in shortly. One of them would come in shortly after practice, and I was like, "Hey man, how's everything going? All that other stuff." And he told me he'd just been at practice, and I put two and two together and realized that I had just seen SMU's team play. So, depending on what the Friday night game is, halftime might be the stay rate at the Baylor game. I mean, just because I can't imagine there being much of anything going on after the halftime.
I mean, look, we've got next week. We've got Big 12 in like 3 days. We're doing the Big 12, so we've got plenty of time to talk about that. We're here on the Pac-12, but at the end of the day, we're going to be at the game, letting everybody know early. Come out, join us, talk with us, chat with us. We definitely want to do that. Take some perspective. Everybody, let us know what they think about the show. Let us know if they want to hear anything cool on that.
Yeah,
and
hit comments.
We'll just be out there having a good time.
We're gonna do it. Kind of do it up like you said that, and then our weekly show. I think that we've decided that we are going to start having our weekly show for everybody to listen to every Thursday.
Yep.
That's gonna be every Thursday morning you'll have something to listen to on the drive to work.
Yep.
So that's kind of our goal, guys. But like I said, it's going to be a growing process. We appreciate you listening and growing with us, and we're hoping that we can do something special here. Because both of us are a little bit narcissistic and believe that it's possible. So,
yeah,
also,
we're working on it.
Something that something that we will be doing starting in 2 weeks. We have some new equipment coming in. We're gonna kind of upgrade how this sounds. We're gonna upgrade everything else. We also, in 2 weeks, are going to start broadcasting our podcast on Periscope while we record it. So you will actually be able to watch us live as we record it, or come back later and watch us see what we look like, watch us snack on gummy bears,
drink coffee,
whatever's
whatever's sitting around at the time. You definitely get to hear that. You also get the little new editing, some sound effects going in there.
Yeah.
The Homer Bell will definitely come out.
We're adding in a Homer Bell.
We've been talking about it. You haven't heard the sound yet, but there's a lot of new improvements, and thanks to everybody for listening to us. Thanks for supporting us, and we're looking forward to bringing you guys a lot of really cool insights.
We're
moving forward.
It's going to be a great time. We got 2 podcasts coming up for you. Again, early part of next week. Make sure and check them both out because you're going to want to know this stuff before you put in your bets Thursday night.
Correct.
We know that 90% of you are anyway.
Because what we will do, and this is a little preview for everybody. Make sure you get your pen and paper together. At the end of the Ohio State, or actually I said Ohio State, Big Ten. Like I said, okay, Ohio State, forget the Big Ten.
At the end of the Big Ten.
At the end of the Big Ten, we will pick our top 5 spreads of the week.
Yep.
For you to make sure you go out and win some money on it. And
we're also I'm gonna do a personal special to you called Over Under. Never bet it in the SEC.
Never bet it in the SEC. So.
But yeah, so we got all that coming up, and we are going to have that. And like what Seth said, we're going to have a lot of cool aspects to the podcast that we're both really stoked about. Like the gambling lines, we're going to sure and look at that. We're going to do the picks of the week. We also know that there are a lot of you are in pick'em leagues, so we're going to kind of look at the big prospects, kind of tell you our locks of the week. Like this is the game to pick.
Correct.
Correct. We got that going on. We're also going to constantly give you more updates than not on Big 12, Big 10, but due to our insomnia, there will be heavy Pac-12 as well.
Correct. Shout out to CBS and 247 for showing us a lot of love and giving us the chance. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Everybody have a great one. This is Seth. I'm out. Be